tweet from Rob. How does one balance family life, 2 small businesses, and a full-time job?
By not judging themselves.
Oh, love that. Can we go deeper into that? How does that look?
Easy. There is no such thing as work-life balance. Every family is different. There is no such thing called balance. You're the judge and the jury, just like a medium-sized business or a small business. How do you balance it? By trying. You try. You try to go to the recital. You try to go to the parent-teacher conference. You try to run your business. You try.
And if you try your hardest and can't do it, you should not judge yourself.
What is can't? What's can't do it? What does that even mean? You missed a baseball game? Come on. The kids can have you miss a baseball game.
Our job is to try to inspire the creativity inside of our children so that they can think through how to problem solve situations. It's not about giving them answers. It's about asking them questions and getting them to process things. When the game is being played, I'm not sitting there giving them answers or barking out things on the sideline. I sit down and I'm quiet and the kids figure things out for themselves, or they don't. And then they come back and there's always questions, and then you kind of ask them more questions and you help them figure it out. But then you see their level of excitement to practice every day increase because it's a process that they are owning. They're not coming to get orders barked at them every day. They're coming for kind of their personal quest to get better. What I found is creativity a lot of time comes from structure. You have those parameters and the structure, then within that you can be creative. But like if you don't have the structure, you're just aimlessly doing stuff. Within that structure, you know, my mind when I go to sleep is already planning of what the next day is going to be because I know what it is I have to do. It's that consistency and structure. You're going to be embarrassed because thousands of people, millions of people see you miss the shot. All right. And then what? People are going to talk bad about you. Okay. And so you're looking at it and go, are those things even important? You know what I mean? If that is my fear, like what is, you worried about letting your teammates down? Okay. Have you let them down before? Oh, I'm sure. In practice and things of that nature, right? They're still there. And so when you're able to unpack it, you kind of look at it for what it is, which is really nothing. You got to be able to look at it and deal with it head on. You have to dance beautifully in the box that you are comfortable dancing in. My box was to be extremely ambitious within the sport of basketball. It's your job to try to perfect it and make it as beautiful of a canvas as you can make it. You have lived with Mamba mentality. Once you have that, then you try to live it to the best of your ability. I want to be one of the best basketball players who have ever played, and every decision I made in my life was centered around the process of helping me eventually get there. Once I had that purpose, every decision that I made was centered around that purpose. I mean, the passion came from the love for the game. I loved everything about it, like the smell of the ball, the smell of like brand new sneakers, and like the sound the ball makes when it hits the ground, ball going through the net, like all those things I love. And so the passion comes from that, because once you have that love, you just want to be a part of this thing all the time. The Mamba mentality simply means trying to be the best version of yourself. That's what the mentality means. It means every day you're trying to become better. And it's a constant quest. It's an infinite quest. To me, the mentality is a really simple one in the sense that the confidence comes from preparation. You want to train as much as you can, as often as you can. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4. So it makes sense to get up and start your day early because you can get more work in. You can't leave any stone unturned. And you can't let that happen. Our job as teachers, as mentors, as inspirers, it's our responsibility to hold them accountable to those things. Being fearless means putting yourself out there and going for it. No matter what, go for it. Not for anybody else, but for yourself. I had fears that everybody was going to be right. I made a poor choice, poor decision, and I wasn't going to amount to anything. So that was always in the back of my mind, for sure.
Don't waste time. Do it right. Perfection.
It's like that's where the obsessiveness is having attention to detail for the action that you are performing at the time you're performing it.
If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say, what's one thing I'm doing wrong, that I know I'm doing wrong, that I could fix, that I would fix? You meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one. When you're trapped, some of it's your own inadequacy. What you can do to begin with is every bloody thing you possibly can do to put yourself in the most virtuous and powerful negotiating position possible. That's demoralizing me. And it's also not good for you being my boss, because if I'm actually more valuable than is being recognized, then the fact that you're not valuing me properly means that I will become demoralized, I won't work properly, and you won't get the best out of me. So it's bad for both of us. And if your boss is in principle not amenable to such a discussion, then what you should seriously consider doing is finding another job. When you're doubtful, say you're trapped, Some of it's your own inadequacy. What you can do to begin with is every bloody thing you possibly can do to put yourself in the most virtuous and powerful negotiating position possible. You have to think like a snake in some sense to do that. You got to get the details right. You have to be prepared to bite, and you have to have your eyes on the prize, so to speak. People aren't taught this sort of thing ever, really. They're not taught how to negotiate. They're not taught how to goal set. Now you can go to your boss and say, here's the situation I'm in here at work. Here's my evaluation of the problems in relationship to me. Here's what I could do for you if you gave me a 40% raise and the opportunity to progress, but I'd like to see a plan for that. And I've been looking for other opportunities before conducting this discussion, and I have some. If your boss treats you with contempt at that point and doesn't listen, then perhaps he or she is a little more narcissistic than might be optimal, and it's time to find a new job. We're built to walk uphill. When you reach the pinnacle of the hill, you want to stop and appreciate the vision, but the next thing you want is a higher hill in the distance, because it's from the uphill climb that we derive our value, and I mean this technically. So almost all the positive emotion we feel experienced in relationship to a goal. You want a goal that you can never attain. As you pursue that goal, you put yourself together and your life does get better and richer and more abundant. And that's why the highest levels of virtue and goal are in some sense transcendent. That's what you are. You're here to live, not to sleep. And technology does alienate us because of its artificiality, its coldness, and its mechanistic nature, all of that. And well, we have to contend with that wisely. And then you ask, well, how do you contend with things wisely? And I would say, well, don't pollute your thoughts with deceit. You compromise your own wisdom. How are you going to make not intelligent decisions, wise decisions? That's why you shouldn't lie. It's like you're warping the mechanism that orients you in the world. Do you really want to do that? This is a brutal world, man. I believe that truth will save the world. I believe that. You speak truthfully. You watch what happens, and you take your consequences. And maybe you hope and have some faith that in the final analysis, things will work out in your favor. Perhaps they will, and perhaps they won't. That's faith. Faith isn't believing in things you regard as ridiculous, sacrificing your intellect. It's a decision. Will truth, beauty, and love save the world? You can find out.
The thing that drives me is curiosity. The reason that I do this is because I want to know about everything. I want to know about why the guy that was sat next to us at dinner last night decided to wear a suit with like Converse. Like, I want to know, like, what is it about that? So the curiosity for me is crippling, and I want to know about everything. My desire to learn things is so much stronger than any fear of insufficiency or desire for success was ever going to be. I've just supplanted one toxic type of drive for one incredibly personal, very scalable, leverageable, beautiful kind of drive. That voice, that negative voice, comes in a few times a week. It reminds me that I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not who I pretend to be, but it's getting quieter and quieter and quieter. And I think it's getting quieter because I have a stack of undeniable proof that I'm supposed to be. You have to start with action. It needs to be, okay, what would have had to have happened in a week's time for me to look back on that week and find pride in myself? Pride's seen as something that you should be ashamed of. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. David Goggins said, pride is something that everybody misses. Having pride in your name, your performance, the way that you show up for other people is something that you can do, but you need to do something that is worthy of being prideful about. Maybe stop breaking promises to yourself. When you say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m. and when the option comes to hit the snooze button, don't do it. There's one win that you've got for the day. That's action.